a diplomatic mission. As dissent threatens to tear apart the peaceful Mandalore system, Duchess Satine struggles to protect her people against the escalating violence. Betrayed by two of her trusted allies, Satine now travels to Coruscant. There she hopes to convince the Senate that a destructive splinter group, Deathwatch, does not represent the entire Mandalorian government.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Mevar Tigar? Welcome to the 76th Duchess Defending Deathwatch Defying episode of Mandovision. Narguy Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is via social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert, and if possible or so inclined. 5-star reviews. The best and easiest way to help support our show and help defeat the evil algorithm and make sure more listeners find us and enjoy what I believe to be a quality entertainment product based around Star Wars. Hey, you're here for a reason. You're having fun. Let's spread the wealth. All right, how is everyone doing? Welcome back. It's another Mandalorian. No, it's not. Oh boy, Tom. It's another Star Wars Clone Wars rewatch Monday, and we are breaking down the Mandalorian trilogy in season 2, the Mandalore plot, if you will, extended by 3 episodes, if you want to consider it that way. We're on the third part. We're on Duchess of Mandalore. This is season 2, episode 14. Original air date February 12th, 2010. And let me tell you what, folks, this episode right here is gold. It's gold. It's so good. To me, this is one of those episodes that is that perfect mix of everything that makes Star Wars Star Wars. You know, it's got the political intrigue. It has the action, the adventure, the Jedi-ness of it all, the sort of conflict of ideologies. It's so much of that good stuff. And Mandalorians. When you add that to the mix, you have a cocktail that no one will send back. It is perfection in a glass, and I don't even want the fancy cocktail straw. I just want to drink it down, gulp, 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 because it's that good. Give me all of it, more. Gimme. I need. Anyways, I'm getting a little off topic, but you know what I'm talking about. This episode is so good, and it helps set the stage for a lot of things to come, and we get to see a lot of really neat things in this episode. We're going to talk about some of the highlights that maybe you missed on first glance, or maybe it just sort of was over your radar, under your radar, whatever it was. We'll talk about some of those things in this episode because it's just a hoot. And again, it's centered on Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is my favorite Jedi of this time period. So I'm predisposed to like it. And as I've said in the prior episodes, I love exploring this backstory, this history he has with Duchess Satine, and exploring more of that and their relationship, their feelings, and her role as a leader and trying to be the best leader she can be for her people, which is something we've seen often in Star Wars. But Duchess Satine, in her role as the leader of the Mandalores, taking a different path, something that we're not used to seeing from our Star Wars characters. A pacifist, and I don't think we've highlighted that enough in our prior episodes. Just how difficult it must be to be a pacifist in something called the Star Wars universe. I mean, talk about being the antithesis of the series. But it's a really neat, interesting concept, and I have to admit that I've come full circle on it from where I was, when the show first debuted in 2010. I was in love with my Mandalorians from the expanded universe, from the old canon, and it took a little while for me to kind of get down with this version of Mandalore. And again, this version of Mandalore is the canon version of Mandalore. So I was holding on to something that Lucasfilm scraped off a while ago, but I was one of those guys. I was one of those younger guys, and I stuck to my guns on some of these things, and I had to soften with age. And again, the other side of that is not only did I soften with age, but I saw how good the story was. I saw how good the episodes were, and it sort of allowed me to move on and accept this as the way for Mandalore to be in Star Wars. So yeah, we're all okay with it. It's all good now. All right, but let's get into the episode proper. What do you say? We're gonna cue up a clip on the other side here, but you know what you gotta do first? The most important part of the show. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
With your Deathwatch army in place, now all we need do is to sit and wait.
But for how long? My men are anxious to fight.
Considering the plot we've just set in motion, I assure you the Republic will oblige you with the fight you're looking for. First, send a Deathwatch assassin to Coruscant. The Duchess of Mandalore must die.
Oh, that is a solid scene between Count Dooku and Pre Vizsla there. And I love the way it sort of cuts back between the two conversations. We start on a separatist ship with Dooku talking to Pre Vizsla's hologram. Then we shift to Vizsla's location where we see the Deathwatch assembling around him. And they have formidable numbers. And it seems like their plot, as we quote Count Dooku, is formidable. One would think. So as we said at the beginning of the show, this is Season 2, Episode 14, Duchess of Mandalore. Original air date was February 12th, 2010. And our plot for this episode: on Coruscant, while word reaches Duchess Satine, the Deathwatch is mobilizing, sparking a preemptive Republic invasion / occupation. On the run from the Republic authorities, Satine and Obi-Wan set off to discover the group's true motives. And that's a fairly accurate description. We do miss the part where it looks like Satine is on the run for murder. But we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the episode itself. This week's show, directed by Brian O'Connell and written by Drew Z. Greenberg. Our cast for this episode: Matt Lanter as Anakin Skywalker and Almec Scout, who we'll talk about in a moment too. D. Bradley Baker is the Clone Troopers Deathwatch assassin and Davu Golik. Ian Abercrombie is Darth Sidious / Chancellor Palpatine. Corey Burton is Count Dooku. Aramis, Deputy Minister Jarek. James Arnold Taylor, center stage this week as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Jon Favreau is Pre Vizsla. Catherine Tabbert is Padme Amidala. Anna Graves is Satine Kryze, also center stage. Stephen Stanton is Mas Ameda and a Deathwatch trooper. Mas Ameda has a big role in this episode too, which is very interesting to sort of see the way he gets out there, gets in front of things for Palpatine, and sort of flexes for Palpatine without Palpatine having to say a word. It's really, really an interesting dynamic there. And then Tom Kane, of course, is the narrator, the police droids, and the police probe. And Julian Holloway returns as Prime Minister Almec in a very, very teeny part that takes place just right after that scene there, because Satine has spies and scouts, and they're out there. They're trying to keep an eye on Deathwatch, and wherever they are, perhaps on Mandalore itself, somewhere in a hidden valley or whatnot. The scout returns to the city, reports to Almec directly about what he's seen and what he's found as far as the Deathwatch goes, and the danger that Satine will find herself in very, very shortly. Our Jedi fortune cookie for this episode: in war, truth is the first casualty. And I think that's a pretty simple one to break down for this week. You gotta remember, there's a lot of manipulation in the Clone Wars, a lot of trickery and deception between the Separatists and even on the side of the Republic, with Chancellor Palpatine, maneuvering and doing things maybe not above board. But in this case, is very much, Dooku is going to attempt to manipulate the Republic Senate into doing something that they ought not do, which is become an occupying force on Mandalore, which would then encourage insurgency, like the Deathwatch, to rise up and take power and overthrow the legitimate government that Duchess Satine represents and the passersways of Mandalore. So a lot going on there as far as that goes, and obviously the Deathwatch would then bring the forces of the Deathwatch and the Mandalorians to the Separatists. And again, you got to remember that history that's been implied for so long now in Star Wars, that the Mandalorians for a long time have found themselves, an opposing force to the Republic, to the Jedi, at various points in their history and in the Republic's history too. So they are a power that's sort of sidelined with Satine and her pacifist government in power. And Pre Vizsla wants to bring back those glory days, those sort of mercenary days of Mandalore's past, and be the soldiers of fortune that they kind of have a reputation for being throughout the galaxy. And that's why they've thrown in there a lot with the Separatists, because Dooku can make that happen. He can help them overthrow the government and bring back the old ways, if you will. And we, if we've watched the show before, we know the road is going to go down, and it's one with fraught with peril, I think is the best way to describe it. But yeah, that's what we got this week, and it's, again, I love this episode, and I don't know what else to say about it except let's just get into it. All right, so yeah, we have that the Deathwatch and the Separatist plan with Dooku. The spy from Satine's government reports back to Almec, and now we have to get to Satine on Coruscant. Check this out.
Mandalore is making great strides to find the leaders of this terrorist movement. They are not powerful enough to destabilize our government. We will resolve this without conflict. If the Republic gets involved in our affairs, it will only lead to further violence. Thus, I shall reassert our position of neutrality.
Talk of an idealist.
No, those are the words of a pacifist and a people who have chosen non-violent action.
All right, so this opening sequence in the Senate, I think, is really fascinating, and it's a really long scene, so I have to pick and choose kind of like where we're going to play some clips from it from. First of all, I love the opening shot of the Senate building with the clouds around it and sort of this one lone ray of sunshine shining down upon it. If that's not a bit of a metaphor for what's going on in the Senate, I don't know what else I could say about it. But yeah, we heard the opening remarks there from Duchess Satine, imploring the Republic to stay out of Mandalore's affairs. And then you also heard, like we talked about a moment ago, Mas Amedda making his presence known, Palpatine's right-hand man, sort of saying the things that Palpatine can't say as the leader, as the Chancellor of the Republic necessarily. So Mas Amedda is there to kind of poke the bear and provoke Duchess Satine to respond to these allegations, or just even, not even allegations, but just to respond and get a reaction out of her and attempt to provoke her into making a mistake, into a false step. And that would give them the authority to do what they need to do, what it is they want to do. So what's about to happen, the scene, Palpatine's going to be playing a video message from Deputy Minister Jarek. All right, this is a person that Satine knows from her government. It is a recording that seems to indicate that he has lost faith in Satine's leadership, and he is calling for the Republic to come to Mandalore and intervene on behalf of the Mandalorian people to stop Deathwatch. Satine obviously knows something's wrong with this. That's not the person that she knows as Jarek. Like, Jarek would never do these things. He would never talk to her. He would never do these things without talking to her. If he had objections to things, he would come to her, not reporting her to the Senate. So something's amiss with this from the beginning. And it's her reaction to this is very strong. She wants to speak to Jarek. This is when Palpatine informs Satine that Jarek died this morning in a Deathwatch bombing. How convenient for that. So I think as an audience, we are all suspecting suspicious, nefarious things are afoot here. And I think we all probably get to the same conclusion around the same time. Clearly that message has got to be doctored. So a lot of this episode is going to be about proving the fact that that message has been altered in some way to support the narrative that Palpatine wants, which is to send Republic forces to occupy the planet. The last sequence I want to play here, and actually before I play it, I should mention too that we, at a certain point, the camera does pull back, and we find that Obi-Wan Kenobi is watching the proceedings with great interest, and he seems quite keen on what's to happen. And again, remember, keep in mind Obi-Wan's feelings on politicians. So to be there watching politicians at work, that is probably a big sacrifice on his part. And that speaks to his feelings and affection towards the Duchess, even though attachment is forbidden, and he is well aware of that. But he knows something's wrong. He knows far too many things have happened in the recent past with Satine and the Separatists and Deathwatch for him just to let this go. He's here to monitor the situation. And I suspect even he is aware that something's probably afoot. So, yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to Satine reaching out to him later on. But I do want to play this section right here, because I find it very, very interesting, as Palpatine is attempting to assert that the Republic coming to Mandalore would be a good thing, and it would be the saving grace that Mandalore needs to put an end to Deathwatch once and for all, and Satine's objections to it and the way she frames that. I want to play that sequence because I do really, really enjoy it. Here, check this out.
Let us ensure that his death was not in vain. Let us commit our military might to defending the Mandalorian people.
Defending? You mean to occupy our home? You would trample our right to self-determination.
We mean to save your people.
You will turn our planet into a military target which will bring the war to us. Mandalore must remain a neutral system.
The vote shall commence in the next session.
Okay, so immediately after this, Satine's leaving the Senate, but Obi-Wan is pursuing because he wants to chat with her. He wants to have a little conversation about what's going on. And it's a really great conversation. I really like a lot of this. I think Obi-Wan does a pretty good job putting his foot in his mouth in this situation here. I'm going to play it out. I will probably have to stop it in the middle. It is a long sequence, so I don't want to play it for too long. So here, check it out and see what you think about what Obi-Wan says to Satine. The way he says it and her reaction to what he's saying.
You're sweet to be concerned, but I promise I'll be all right.
I am concerned. We're friends, are we not?
Yes, friends and nothing more.
Satine, as your friend, I don't think you should make any decisions in this state of mind.
This state of mind? And what state of mind would that be precisely?
What I'm saying is, any person would be hysterical by now.
That was a mistake. That's the mistake right there, to say that she's being hysterical. And I completely understand her reaction to that. And Obi-Wan seems a bit befuddled here. Like, he doesn't quite know what to say, but his word selection is poor. Very, very poor. So I completely understand where Satine is coming from. And again, as the leader of a people who are facing a critical moment, not only as a people, but as the leader of these people, her regime, her reign as their leader, this is a big moment here. If the Republic were to come as an occupying force, that completely takes away any power that she has, and she is just a figurehead at that point with no actual say or sway over anything that would affect her people. She would be powerless and just a puppet of the Republic. So I appreciate her reaction here. Let's hear it.
Hysterical! The Republic is attempting to force its will upon innocent people.
I only meant
Frankly, I'm surprised you're not hysterical. Perhaps if more citizens got hysterical, they'd be more inclined to speak up when the Republic tramples on their rights.
rushing in like this, it's foolhardy.
Ironic words from a man who spends his days running hither and yon, wielding his lightsaber with deadly force as if on a crusade. Why should I listen to someone who so frequently relies on violence? In my opinion, you're the one who's foolhardy.
Obi-Wan doesn't know what to say to that. And you can tell that Satine feels badly that she lashed out the way that she did, as that speeder is pulling away. I think she wishes she had perhaps chosen a different tone. But you can't dismiss the stress and the pressure that she must be under here, trying to make sure that the Republic does not move in and become a force on Mandalore, that they will remain neutral. That is the platform on which she has built her government around, neutrality. And the Republic showing up as an occupying force is a slap in the face to all of it. So, yeah, it's a big deal. And she knows what will happen. It would inspire insurgency. They talk about that plenty in this episode. So interesting stuff here. But this is also where we get the first assassination attempt on Satine. It's disguised as sabotage on her speeder. Her guards nobly save her life. The driver of the speeder makes a heroic sacrifice to get her to safety before piloting off and at the cost of his own life to save Duchess Satine. And that's where the intrigue and the mysteries begin to break down. Not break down, but this is where we begin to get into the plot. The plot thickens, if you will, at this point in the episode. It's really good stuff. So what's going to happen next after the speeder accident is pure political manipulation. Satine having a meeting in Palpatine's office, Mas Amedda present. It's a great exchange between the two of them. I want to play a little bit from it because it's again, it's pure political manipulation. Watch the way that Mas Amedda in particular spins what the results of this act of the speeder sabotage. Let's just play it.
What do you mean no charges are to be filed? None at all. Someone tried to kill me. The controls on my speeder were compromised.
Sadly, my dear, there is no proof anyone tampered with anything. I'm afraid it might have been just an accident.
An accident? And it just happened to coincide with me defending my home world.
I agree with Satine.
Well, finally.
It proves what I've been saying all along. Deathwatch is out of control. The Republic must step in and help.
No, wait, I didn't...
You can't keep them reined in, obviously. So we will.
This is patently offensive. You can't do this.
Unfortunately, it is up to the Senate now.
And as we're about to find out, the Senate's having the vote at this very moment, and Satine is going to be very, very angry when she finds that out, and that, in fact, they vote to send Republic forces to Mandalore. So now this sends her on her quest. She must prove that the information that the Senate voted on was doctored, that was falsified, that there was not this plea for help and for assistance from Deputy Minister Jarek. And that is going to be the driving force of the second half of the episode here. Before this happens, though, before Satine finds out the horrible news that the Senate has voted on occupation of Mandalore, there is a conversation, another effort by Obi-Wan to reach out to Satine, to remind her that they are friends and that she can ask him for help, and that's what she needs to do in a time like this, not go more insular and just rely on her own self-determination, which, again, Satine is a very strong-willed, independent person, and like that's the basis of a great character here. But as we've learned from other Star Wars characters, particularly in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, going at it alone is not always the best course of action. And when you have someone like Obi-Wan Kenobi in your corner, who will believe you if you present the facts, so he's trying to reach her that way, and it's she's having a hard time with it because of the growing frustrations coming from that meeting with Mas Amedda and Palpatine, where obviously like she was a top being spun between the two of them, and then to get the news from Padme that during that meeting, because of the speeder accident, that accelerated the vote, and it took place during that meeting, which is just wow. That is some crazy plotting by Palpatine and Mas Amedda to make that happen, to distract Satine from being able to once again plead her case for the Republic to stay out of Mandalorian affairs. So again, this is the part where during that conversation we find out that Satine is going to go meet up with a contact from the Intelligence Bureau, and she's going to start to get to the bottom of this. Then she gets the bad news, and now she's more determined than ever to get the information that she needs. So she's going to go meet this contact on the down low, and this is where we see our Deathwatch assassin lurking in the shadows, and he's going to make his presence known here very, very soon. You know, I assume that was a mistake. I assume it's a male, but I don't think we ever hear this assassin talk, at least not too much. So maybe I'm mistaken, and maybe it could be a female. It could be a female Deathwatch. Remember, we've seen that before. But now I'm trying to remember if we actually have heard him communicate, if you heard him vocalize, and we know it's a him or not. Oh well. And maybe we'll find out when we listen to these clips here in a minute. But yeah, let's check out Satine hanging out, meeting up with her contact from the Intelligence Bureau.
I don't have much time. They're following me.
You've put yourself in great danger. I will never forget it.
I had to come. This is worth it.
Where did you get this?
Buried deep in the evidence facility at the Ministry. It was not easy to find, believe me.
Deathwatch assassin moves in.
You were right. Someone faked the evidence. The recording presented to the Senate was not the full recording, but this disc is. You must show the Senate.
Dabu!
Down he goes. Now the assassin lines up Satine next, but Coruscant police droids quickly move into the scene, and they see Satine there, and she is obviously their prime suspect. And we get a nice, fun chase scene after this. The contact's killed. Satine's gonna get again suspected of murder by Coruscant police, and she will be pursued by security droids and the Deathwatch assassin and some clone troopers on top of that. The clone troopers that are being used as a local militia, I suppose, if you will. She's able to use her electro disruptor, the one she used in the last episode on the spider assassin droids. She's able to knock out one of the droids. Again, a good call back to last week. And that's how she's able to help shake her pursuit. She's able to use a speeder as a decoy. Everyone assumes that she's in that speeder. She goes down to the alley, right? And there's a guy getting into his speeder, but they don't see that portion. They just see the speeder taking off after she's gone into the alley. So everyone assumes that she is now in that speeder. So it draws the pursuit away. And this is where she's able to, she decides that it's time to reach out to Obi-Wan Kenobi and phone a friend, if you will. So let's check back in on the next part of the plot. Take a little break from Satine and go back to Deathwatch. All right, so the scene I'm about to play for you, yeah, this does confirm that our Deathwatch assassin is in fact a male. So my first assumption was correct, but I didn't want to be that person who just, assumed it was a dude. All right, anyways, here we go. Check it out.
Duchess Satine escaped again, but I took out an informant. Not sure if he successfully delivered something to her, but it looked like a handoff.
Find her. Whatever she's carrying may compromise our plan.
All right, so then we get to the next part of the conversation here that I wanted to play, which is Dooku and Sidious, because it's always fun when these two are talking with each other. Let's check it out.
My lord, everything is going as you instructed.
Deathwatch is prepared to fight.
Yes. The people have been worked into such a frenzy that when the Republic does arrive, the Deathwatch will be considered heroes.
Excellent. The Republic Occupation Force is loading their ships and will arrive on time, if the Duchess Satine does not get in the way.
The Duchess Satine will not be in the way much longer. One of the Deathwatch assassins is taking care of her.
And that would be the sound of Sidious. The sound of Sidious smiling. That's what you just heard there with that musical cue. All right, so now we're going to check back in with Satine. She's on the run. She's on the lam, if you will. Laying low. Still got the cloak. Remember, in the Star Wars universe, if you have a cloak, you basically can hide pretty easily because everyone's cloaked up in the Star Wars universe. I love the cloaks. Wish we brought cloaks back into our modern society. I'd love to walk around town with a cloak on and not be looked at and stared at for wearing a cloak in public. The good old days of wearing a cloak and no one looking sideways at you. Let's bring those back, folks. Let's bring those back. Anyways, Satine's going to place the call to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's check it out because, yeah, it's a moment for Satine. She has to sort of humble herself a little bit to do this, to reach out to Obi-Wan. She was so confident and self-assured in her plan, and now she's in a very big predicament. And she needs help now from a friend, from a trusted source, from a reliable buddy, compadre, your Jedi Knight, our Jedi Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, come in.
Obi-Wan, are you there?
Satine, where are you? Master Maida has demanded you turn yourself in.
I know. Listen to me, Obi-Wan. I need your help.
Boom. All right, then we cut to a great shot of where they're meeting. Now, this is a neat scene for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's this plaza that they're in is a great set piece for a lot of espionage and action kind of movies. I mean, this looks like this would be a great thing for like a Jason Bourne movie, right, or a Mission Impossible. This plaza that they're in. Now, this plaza dates back to some early Ralph McQuarrie concept art that he did for Coruscant way, way back in the day. I think before it was even called Coruscant, but I think just when it was like Imperial Center was the name of the world. And this is Monument Plaza that we're looking at. You can see the rock at the center of the plaza poking out surrounded by, again, technology, the city itself. This is supposed to be one of the last exposed pieces of Coruscant on the entire planet. This tip of this mountain is all that remains of the world that Coruscant has been built upon. And it's a really unique feature, and it plays heavily into the backdrop of this location. Again, Monument Plaza. Again, look up the old Ralph McQuarrie concept art. There's some, if you don't have some great, there's plenty of great books out there with McQuarrie's concept art. But by all means, add one to your library as soon as you can, because they are just so much fun to flip through. Particularly of my favorites are from Star Wars: A New Hope, when the universe was just getting its look and its design, and you see like some really crazy, not crazy, but like really interesting designs that would become something else down the road. Like, we'll get into it when we get to Rebels, but like, the Mandalorian armor was like Imperial Super Commando Stormtrooper armors, for a long time before it became a whole new people. Stuff like that, just so much fun stuff to get into, and like the original look at the characters, the different aliens, the ships. It's just fantastic stuff. So by all means, make sure you add a Ralph McQuarrie book to your coffee table or library proper, as you will. So yeah, so Satine's called Kenobi. The assassin keeps trying to take a shot, can't quite get the shot, and again, things will happen, like a thermal detonator. But before we get to the thermal detonator, let's go ahead and check in with Obi-Wan finding Satine at Monument Plaza.
Seeing you all right is, well, it's a relief. You should turn yourself in. We've both sworn a loyalty to the Republic.
Believe me, neither one of us is breaking our oath. And this will prove it. I need to get it into the proper hands.
But the Republic guards are hunting you, which means...
Whoever doctored this recording is likely in the government itself.
If you set foot inside the Senate, they'll take you.
And the disc will be destroyed before anyone can see it. Which is why you must take the disc to Padme.
And this is when the assassin strikes, and Obi-Wan gets to go to battle once again with Deathwatch. Eventually the assassin will flee, but there's thermal detonators at play. And this is when we have to make our... it's a great action sequence. I don't want to undersell it. It's a really fun action sequence as we sort of race to the conclusion of this episode. And a lot of things have to happen here for this to come together in the right way. Again, more fighting, and a scene where Kenobi loses his lightsaber, and Satine's the one who picks it up, and you wonder if for a second she might turn it on to engage with a Deathwatch soldier, but of course she won't. She is not as we established last episode, she's not the character who will compromise her values, no matter the cost. So she just throws it back to Kenobi. She just throws it back to Kenobi, who re-engages in his battle with the Deathwatch assassin, eventually chasing them off. And it's at this point that Obi-Wan has to sneak into the Senate to get the proper disc to Padme, as is the plan. And they play that disc for the Senate. Now, again, just as this is happening, Satine has turned herself in, so they are no longer looking for her. So Kenobi is the one who's able to sneak in when she just turns herself in. She is the distraction that allows him to get into the Senate, get the disc to Padme. So Padme plays it for the Senate, and it doesn't go the way that Palpatine and Mas Amedda were hoping, as this new evidence changes everything. And let's hear the fallout of that when we get back to our nefarious enemies in the Separatist and Mandalore or Deathwatch camps. Actually, as I'm about to play the clip, I do want to set up a little bit more. The unaltered clip of Deputy Minister Jarek is really interesting to listen to, so I hope you paid attention to that, where it completely endorses Satine's decisions and why he helps further illustrate why the Republic should not come to Mandalore and why the Republic forces cannot occupy Mandalore in the face of this Deathwatch insurgency and what the ramifications of that could be. So it is an interesting section of speech to listen to. Now this puts our Deathwatch. I keep wanting to call them our friends, but they're not our friends. The Deathwatch is bad. They're the bad guys here. Despite our love of the Mandalorians, the Deathwatch is not the best of the Mandalorians, right? We're all on the same page with that, at least. I hope. Fingers crossed. So they're in a bit of a lurch now because they were ready to strike. They were ready to seize the day, but now they're kind of on the run. They're getting ready to go. They got to go lay low. They got to get underground a little bit here. And Vizsla not happy with Dooku. But, Dooku does not like to get chastised by anyone, let alone a Mandalorian.
All troops will stand down. All troops will stand down.
Unacceptable! You promised us we would reclaim Mandalore from these weak-willed cowards. I will order my men to attack.
And if you do, you'll hold the planet for perhaps a day. Without the backing of my forces or your people, your revolution will be over before it begins. A neophyte such as you wouldn't know these things, but I do. I have other ways to accomplish our goal.
Vizsla not happy with that one. So we go back to the Senate, to Palpatine's office in particular, to hear that there's been a new vote. Republic forces are being told to stand down. There will be no occupation of Mandalore in the face of the new evidence provided by Duchess Satine to Padme Amidala. And, Palpatine's doing his usual thing, like, a grievous injustice has been avoided. And you have the most sincere apologies of the Republic. And Mas Amedda's like, yes, apologies. And, blah, blah, blah. But the political maneuvering, it's all right there. And you wonder how much of it Satine buys, Does she really suspect? Does she think they're being sincere or not? I suspect maybe not. I think not. It seems that Satine's trust and faith in the Republic is shaky at best, and rightfully so, because of what has just occurred. But at least she knows she has allies like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Padme Amidala, and so forth. And this is also the only time that we see Anakin Skywalker in this episode. I know we read Matt Lanter's name off in the credits, and because it is listed there, but yeah, if he has a speaking part, it is in a deleted scene somewhere on a DVD somewhere, and not available via Disney Plus. So something interesting to note there, a little factoid for you if you're paying attention. And yeah, so let's get to this last moment here between Satine and Kenobi, because after this I don't think we see Satine the rest of the season, and it'll be a little bit before we get back to Duchess Satine and the fate of the Mandalorian people. So yeah, let's check out this scene as we close out the episode, The Duchess of Mandalore.
But for you, this wouldn't have happened.
No, it was your unshakable faith in your people and your determination that brought about this result.
I appreciate that. But still, who is behind all of this? Who tampered with that recording? Who tried to convict me of murder and throw me in jail?
I'm not sure. But as you said yourself, things are changing. And sometimes the line between friend and foe is blurred. Now more than ever.
Boom. There it is. Kenobi, Kenobi, Kenobi. If only you remember all the things that Dooku told you in Attack of the Clones. He gave you all the answers. And again, we will get to that later on in this series, as that fact is thrown once again in Kenobi's face down the road, because that'll be a lot of fun to get to. But yeah, there it is, Duchess of Mandalore. I really like this episode. I think it closes out this trilogy very strongly. Again, it's for me, it's a solid 8.5. I love the political intrigue, the mystery, the espionage, the double crosses. Well, there's no double crosses, but the whole thing, the whole plot. I love this balance of action adventure with some political intrigue. The notion of the Republic as an occupying force is fascinating to me. We could do a whole episode talking about the Republic as an occupying force, and the response of insurgents and the parallels to that in the real world. But I don't want to bring the real world into the show. So I like the real world outside of this podcast. I don't need it in the podcast. But again, that's a comparison that's right there. I think everyone can see it right on Front Street. We've learned a lot about insurgencies and occupying forces throughout history. So yeah, you can draw those comparisons. You can make those comparisons on your own. It's just a little interesting thing to kind of think about as you watch the episode, as you consider the neutrality of the Mandalorian people, and the idea that the Republic was gonna insert themselves there under the guise of protecting them from the Deathwatch. It's a lot to pick up on. Good stuff in there. I love the episode. 8.5. It finishes up this Mandalore trilogy really strongly. Good stuff with Kenobi and Satine and the whole shebang. So much fun. Easily my favorite episodes of season 2, except for maybe a couple that are coming up towards the end. Ooh, there's good stuff coming. Well, listen, I know we've run a little long with this episode, Duchess of Mandalore, because it is so good and so very, very enjoyable to talk about. But yeah, that's the end of the show for today. I'm so sorry. But we'll be back on Friday. We have another Bad Batch for you as that show's rocketing towards its conclusion. And I can't wait to talk to you on Friday about that. You know, this show doesn't go on without you fine listeners, and I thank you all so much for the love and support you've shown by downloading the show, sharing it with all your friends, family, loved ones, spreading the word on social media for us. That has just been so helpful, and it warms my heart whenever I see it. Thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time. New listeners, old listeners alike, thank you all for being here. You are the best. I love that I can come here and talk to Star Wars about you all. Excuse me. I love that I can come here and talk to Star Wars. Oh boy, I messed up again. I love that I can come here and talk about Star Wars with all of you. And I hope that you reach out to me via social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show. It's mandovisiontom@gmail.com. And one more reminder, please like, subscribe, and share the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. Anyone who owes you a life debt or a blood debt. All debts are accepted here. Just spread the word. And if you can, take the time, 5-star reviews. They're so, so sweet. And they help us punch the evil algorithm right in its Palpatine-shaped face. It's so much fun. So much fun to punch that Palpatine-shaped face in the face. I love it. I love it. All right, let's get out of here. Remember, my name is Tom. I thank you again for listening. We will be back so soon. We're for the Bad Batch. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Let's wrap it up. You know how the show ends? It only ends one way. And this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.